John Tory is banning guns in Toronto, but don't worry, he doesn't hate all guns. He actually quite likes some guns. He likes the ones that protect him much of his day. ISIS is claiming responsibility for the mass shooting in Toronto's Danforth. And just now we're finding out that the gun used by Faisal Hussein was illegal. It was illegally trafficked from the United States and then linked to Faisal Hussein through his gangbanger brother. Hussein was in possession of a firearm illegally. He committed a mass murder with that illegal firearm. He didn't jump through any of the hoops that I did or go through those daily background checks that I do to legally own my guns. But according to Toronto's Mayor John Tory, the answer to this terror attack is more gun control on people just like me. Now, this is a complete obfuscation, an extreme distraction from what the real issues are, because Tory just can't deal with what the real issues are. It's not a gun control issue, and it is certainly not a mental health issue, the way the fake PR statement from the shooter's family claims that it is. No, Tory City is plagued with gangs and gang violence and gun violence, in part because of his sanctuary city ideas, his support for open borders, and his end to the police practice of carding. But it also appears this mass murderer has ties to radical Islam. And instead of dealing with those very specific issues, the government is coming after the law-abiding because, as the law-abiding, we, of course, are the path of least resistance. We will follow the law. We will begrudgingly comply with new laws. But we are also going to fight against new laws every step of the way, but we will do it politically. Now, in an evening Toronto City Council meeting, Council followed through with their promises to ban guns from the City of Toronto. Councillors voted 41-4 on a motion brought forward by Councillor Joe Cressy. The motion calls on the federal government to ban the sale of handguns in the City of Toronto, to have the province of Ontario ban the sale of handgun ammunition in Toronto, to examine how best to use bylaw and policy initiatives to control the sale of handguns in Toronto, and to hold a coroner's inquest into gun violence-related deaths in Toronto. That last one there is literally the only good thing to come out of last night's City Council meeting, because from there it got even crazier. Former Liberal MP and now Toronto City Councillor Jim Karagannis proves to us all that you can take the Liberal out of the Liberal caucus, but you just can't take the authoritarian automatic reflex for gun control out of the Liberal. Look at this crazy motion he brought forward at last night's council meeting. The motion called on the federal government to create gun repositories for guns to be locked up until needed for hunting. The motion actually passed. Let me just state that anyone who voted for this motion is weapons grade stupid, and Jim Karagannis should be locked away in a repository for safekeeping so that he doesn't hurt himself or anyone else. First off, do they think we're out shooting deer with handguns because hunting with a handgun, just like murder, is also, pretty illegal? And do they really think gangbangers, violent criminals, thugs, and ISIS-inspired terrorists are going to turn in their illegal handguns until such time that deer season rolls around? Really? And let's just talk about the logistics of this. I've gone out deer hunting at 3 a.m. Can you imagine the lineups on opening day of hunting season? This is the government, for the love of God. They'll lose your guns or give them to the wrong person. And you know what else? They only work bankers' hours anyways, so good luck. Then there were further motions by Councillor Janet Davis to investigate already highly regulated gun clubs to determine if they're operating legally. I suppose investigating lawful businesses is easier than investigating the guns coming illegally across the border into Canada, isn't it? That councillor, Janet Davis, wasn't quite done yet attacking law-abiding private businesses like gun clubs in Toronto. No, she was just sort of ramping up. Janet Davis brought forward another motion to study the feasibility of acquiring and repurposing existing gun clubs and shooting ranges within Toronto. That motion to study the best way to appropriate law-abiding private businesses from business owners also passed. It's totalitarian. And the federal government's public safety minister, Ralph Goodale, said he is receptive to all of the City of Toronto's recommendations And the federal government is again looking at more gun control, including banning handguns altogether in Canada. Now, not a single law or motion that is proposed or passed now by the City of Toronto or the federal government in the future would have stopped Hussein with his illegal gang-linked foreign gun courtesy of his sewer rat gangster brother. Hussein wasn't licensed, his gun wasn't registered, he wasn't down at the shooting range, and he wasn't going hunting when moose season opens up. He was a terrorist, hunting people. For me, the answer to gang violence and even radical Islamic violence in Toronto is not to attack gun owners. It's actually more gun owners. More people trained to defend themselves when the police are minutes away. Torontonians are helpless today, being made more helpless by bad government policy. And you know what? I think John Tory, in his private life, feels the same way I do about guns, at least when it comes to protecting himself. You see, John Tory is a big fat hypocrite. He has armed security with him a lot of his day. His life is precious to him and to the government, and they feel it's worthy of being protected with a gun. John Tory lives at the exclusive One Bedford. Now, according to Toronto Life, he lives in a $2.4 million condo unit on the 11th floor. He can afford to live in a highly secure condo building. Now, I don't begrudge him or anyone else their wealth. I'm actually happy to see that he's a successful individual. But what of the rest of us who can't afford security guards at our door? What do we do? And since Toronto is turning into a bit of a Chicago of the North, what with its murders and gang violence and now 2 terror attacks in about 6 months, what's a guy to do except get away from it all and head to his Florida home? Now that's where Mayor John Tory spends part of his year. He maintains a home in what's described as America's most exclusive gated golf community, Lost Tree Village in North Palm Beach, Florida, where the world's richest and most elite individuals enjoy armed security guards. John Tory, he knows that guns protect good guys from bad guys. Guns protect him, but he won't let Torontonians protect themselves. For the Rebel.media, I'm Sheila Gunn Reid. What you just saw there is my daily video that I do here at The Rebel, but did you know that I have my own weekly full-length show? It's aptly called The Gun Show, and we talk about issues facing Canadian families. In fact, we even talk about gun control and how awful it is. But to get access to my show and the rest of our incredible premium content, treat yourself to a Rebel subscription today.